Hey, we're going to speak about Steve Jobs, the biography of Steve Jobs by Walter Isaacson. This pretty important book, pretty huge. I read it and I would like to share it with the people who are interested, because Steve Jobs is one of the most important people in the world of technology. So I would like in the beginning to invite you to subscribe on the channel and to put like to follow more books we do. So we're going to speak this short summary in a few minutes maybe. The beginning of the parents of Steve Jobs were Americans. Paul Jobs, his father, came from the World War II, and he couldn't have kids with his wife, so they decided to find a baby to adopt it. At the same time, the real biological father of Steve Jobs was a refugee in America, and he met one young lady. She's Armenian. She lives in Weizen, the German area in the United States, somewhere near Santo Altos or something. And they had their relationship, and they traveled to Syria. And there, when they came back from Syria, the girl discovered that she is pregnant, and they had to put their baby, but they didn't want it because her father didn't allow her to get married because she must continue studying and stuff like that. So they found Jobs' family, and they took the child. That was the beginning of Steve Jobs, the Syrian Arabian Muslim child who was born in the United States. He became American and one of the most important people in America, one of the most rich people in America, and. So the father of Steve Jobs, Mr. Paul Jobs, he used to speak and he used to work. He used to find and buy used items, mechanical things and electronic boards and electronics machine. They bring them, they fix them, they refurbish them, and he sell them. That was his main job there in Santo Altos. And the boy Steve Jobs used to go with his father to his work and to listen to his father while he was explaining the principles of electronics and the electricity, how it works, and all these things in a very general way. And that. So after that, when Steve Jobs go to the college and he was studying there, he started to invent a lot of electronic boards and things like that. After that, he decided when he finished the college to go back to his family house, and there he wanted to find a job. He went to a company there, and he told them, I want to be employed here. They said, we don't. He said, I will not leave this company if I will not be an employee. So one employee there go to the CEO or the president of the company there. That company was producing like not video games, but flipper and things like the casino machines and these like that with electricity. So he came to the manager and he told him, there's one guy outside, I think he's a hippie because of hair, and he's wearing a sandal and he's not much proper. He said, he will not leave till we hire him. So do I call the police or do I let him get in? The manager said, let him get in, and he had the job, and he started there, and he started to create and develop these electronic machines. Then they sent them to India and Japan to sell their products there. There he met the Buddhism and these Eastern religions. He discovered this kind of spirituality. He loved it so much. And one time he told a monk there in India, I want to become a Buddhist monk, because he loved it too much. Then he came back to United States after 7 months or 7 years, I forgot. He said that he discovered that the difference between the Western world and the Eastern world is the most important thing in India. He found that the institution, they develop it much. They know everything through the institution, intuition in French. So he went back. He said that the Americans work too much and learn too much, study too much, teach too much, but that is not much important as the spirituality of Buddhism and of course Steve Jobs is Christian, but and he was baptized and he was Christian. After that, he started to work in one company called IBM. That IBM company, no one heard about it before, and they started to create electronics and electricity product in the field of technology and computers exactly. And one time they decided to change the name of the company. They didn't find any name, so he was pruning the apples in one garden near there, and the idea came to his head, why don't we call the company Apple Computers Apple? And they decided to make it Apple. And inside Apple, he developed one computer, smaller computer called Mac or Macintosh, and he wrote it in his name for his own dad. And they made one event to launch the Macintosh at the time of 1984. And before that event, they had little problems in technique. And here we know much more about the personality of Steve Jobs, how he insisted to fix, how he insisted to solve problems, what kind of will he has. When all the company said, let's cancel the event because we're not ready, he said, no, we are, and we will continue. We discover how strong he is, and after that, CEO of Apple found that Apple started to sell too much product of it. But before that, I forgot to tell you, when he was in the college and started to develop a lot of electronic stuff, he invent with his friend Wozniak, his name was, if I'm not wrong, a blue box. That blue box is very famous now in the people who study the technology and that. He invented an idea in an electronic way how to duplicate the phone and the voice, what is being the phone of wire, the wire and landline phones. So in the beginning they were playing, they were like doing pranks with friends. After that he said to his friend, why we don't sell it? The products of the stuff of the blue box costed $40 in that time, and they sell it at $150, and they started to sell and sell more and more and more. When he was in Apple and Macintosh, he had problems with his CEO. Before he left, I remember when something taught me, because he was an employee in Apple, the CEO visited him at his new own flat, Steve Jobs' apartment. The apartment was empty and Steve Jobs were living alone there. So when he came to the house, that CEO, to his house, he said, why your apartment is empty? You don't have any furniture to sit? He had the carpet and sitting on the round. Steve Jobs said at that time, of course, the step of buying furniture to the house is not something small or something easy. It's going to take time and it's a little bit hard. After that, he got fired from the Apple, or he left, I forgot, but he developed his own computer, Macintosh, and the Macintosh in the 80s were a small screen. Inside it you can find everything. A small screen, like square screen, carré. After started the success of Mac, they hired him again in Apple, and they asked him if he can become the CEO of the Apple and bring his electronic product to the Apple. He said okay. That was the year of 1998, and since that time he stayed the Apple, the CEO Apple, as a general manager of Apple and Macintosh in the same time. After that, I would like a little bit to speak about his girlfriend, because before he will get married. He had a girlfriend, and that girlfriend got pregnant, and she delivered the girl, and he said, no, it's not mine. After the girl came a few years later, they went to make a DNA test after the woman insisted that the girl is his daughter, and the woman wants money, and he was very rich at that time, and his ex-girlfriend with her daughter was living in a very poor way, in a very poor house. After discovering that, and the girl became his real daughter, he found that. He said, okay, she's my daughter, but before it, when he has this conflict in the company with his ex-girlfriend and dad, he let his daughter play with that small Macintosh. She opened the Paint software at that time in 80s, and she drew a drawing, and he was surprised that someone, like a normal person in the world, is drawing on an electronic device, and he can file save, and he can keep the file. He kept the file, and he printed, and he kept it in his pocket all his life. And after a few years, and lately now in 28 or 29, the daughter was blaming her father, why you were like that, you don't love me, you don't like that. He told her, do you remember when you draw on my Macintosh a drawing when you were a kid, 4 or 5 years old? She said no. He removed the paper from his pocket, and he let her to see it. He said, because I love you, I kept the first drawing you do, and because I love my Mac, and it means for me a lot. After that, Mac developed more and more by his own creativity. He invented, of course, you know, the iPod and the iPhone, and the iPhone started to get success. They won worldwide selling telephone very fast. As you know, all the i family, the iPhone, iMac, iPod, very stylistic, very beautiful. One day when he had a problem also with his daughter, he told her, I'm working to make a lot of songs in your pocket, a lot of songs in one new electronic device, the iPod in that time. She said, what are you talking about? And he did it, and the iPod came to the world since 10 years maybe or more. Now we're in 2020, I'm reading this book. And at the same time, when this book has stopped publishing and printing when Steve Jobs died, unfortunately, may his soul rest in peace. Also, one huge engineer in Apple came to him. He said, you're not working like us, you're not doing very strict stuff in electronics. Why do you think you are important more than us? He said, I'm not saying anything, and I'm not important, but each one has his own role in life and in work and in the company. My role is to do or to play the orchestra. One time I spoke to one musician, he said, I do the orchestra. I said, what's the meaning of orchestra? He said, like a person play guitar, like a person play drums, I play the orchestra. It's also a job, but I lead these stuff to work together and hear what I'm doing in the company. I am the orchestra of Apple, I am the orchestra of Macintosh and all these stuff like that. I wish I did not forget anything to speak about, dear friends. The end of Steve Jobs, he was very rich. He has a huge wealth. He bought an apartment like 1,000 square meter in New York, and always his car was without a plate number, because in America and the United States there was a law that each car that comes to the United States, a new car, we allow it to drive on the streets without plate for 6 months. So every 6 months he used to renew a car and bring someone new, and like that. Other stuff, donc, we spoke all these stuff. In the end, he had cancer in his pancreas. Unfortunately, he died in 2011. Steve Jobs passed away. A lot of people cried, a lot of people got sad. The funeral was alone with his family due to the privacy of the family. But after that, they made a lot of events. They spoke about Steve Jobs and what he created for us, for the world, for the company, for the world of technology. The man was very creative. The man had a huge will. He was very strong. A lot of people cried. A lot of people till now still putting flowers on his tomb. All the people love Steve Jobs. That's why, my friends, I choose to talk to you about Steve Jobs, and also 3 or 4 film or movies they've been produced about his life and biography, and you can watch it too. That was the summary, everything I would like. Of course, a lot of more details are here. That's what I'm remembering now. And hope you liked the video. For more videos and to thank us, give us a subscribe and like on the channel so we continue doing things. And don't forget to read books and stay updated. Ciao.